Thank you. First of all, before we approve the agenda, I have an amendment to the agenda for council. I'd like to change items 7 and 8 and reverse the two. Do the mayor and council reports after permits and bylaws. So a motion to amend, or to approve the amended agenda, please. Thank you, Councillor Stewin, Councillor Coun. All those in favor? Thank you. The regular council meeting, the minutes of the regular council meeting held January 14th be adopted. Sorry, I moved. I'll be okay. Is there any errors or omissions? Let's start with that. No? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? All right. Never take cold medicine before a council meeting. Well, that's part of it. Excuse me. So we have two delegations tonight. Our first delegation is from the Fraser Valley Watershed Coalition, and that's Natasha Cox. So, Natasha, welcome.
Thank you.
Please come forward. Mr. Pearce, would you mind dimming the one light switch there behind you?
Okay. You mean dim or just left?
Farthest to the right.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, just a technical question. Should I make it quicker or can I right there? Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, and councillors. I'm very glad to be here today, and my name is Natasha Cox. I work for a registered charity called the Fraser Valley Watersheds Coalition, and I always like bookends, so today the two take-home messages that I hope you guys walk away with are a little bit of a sense of who the Watersheds Coalition is, and more importantly, what we're doing in the District of Hope. There is a gravel pit called the Tonberry Gravel Pit, and I believe we have a legacy project on our hands. And I hope by the end of this presentation, you think that too. So I know we don't have a lot of time. So brief introduction, we're talking 101. I work for the Fraser Valley Watersheds Coalition. It's a registered charity governed by a board of directors. We believe that healthy watersheds provide the foundation for healthy communities. We value scientific knowledge, respect, collaboration, integration, and action. We are most definitely boots on the ground folks. And we're not an advocacy group. We really are about finding opportunities and solutions to challenges. And we have what we call our watershed program. So it's comprised of 4 interconnected program areas. We do watershed planning, which serves as the foundation for our habitat restoration and enhancement program, our environmental monitoring and mapping, and our education and outreach program. We haven't had a big presence in the District of Hope yet, but it's definitely within our region, and we just started a big project here, and this is what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. So we have been in existence from 1997. Our foundational partners are the University of the Fraser Valley, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and the Fraser Valley Regional District. And we were designated a registered charity in 2010. So we do have a history, and we're working up into our 20 years of existence. More importantly, restoring the Tonberry Gravel Pit. So this is what we're doing in the District of Hope. And we've started it in 2017. And so typically our projects start from the salmon and then build outwards. And we really look at what's happening in our ecosystem or our watersheds and what can we do to mitigate it and improve it. So I think most people have probably been to Sham Lake Wetlands, where there's the conservation values and the trails and that connection of nature and people. I want you guys to picture Sham Lake Wetlands in your head for the rest of this presentation. And the project vision when we got this particular grant, which is $750,000, we're in year 2 and we still have half the project to do. So our goal is to restore the ecological and biodiversity values, starting from the salmon, and build outwards. And what we recognize is there's a lot of First Nation and community values that need to be considered as part of this design. And so, yeah, you can see our funding came from Fisheries and Oceans, and we have the opportunity to do some leverage work here, especially with good partners. So, like all good projects, we start with why, and the take-home points to note is in its current state, it's killing fish, it's trapping fish, and it's killing the salmon. And so let's start with, well, why? How is this happening? The Fraser River, the Chinook salmon are coming down the Fraser River Canyon, and they hit Hope. And this is the pivotal point where a lot of the salmon are taking a hard left-hand turn into what's known as the Tom Berry gravel pit, which coincidentally was the same gravel pit that built the Coquihalla Highway. So pretty neat, but it hasn't been touched in 25 plus years. It's a remnant of how we got the roads. And so these Chinook salmon are coming down the river highway, turning left for a pit stop to take their first slow moving water, feed up, and they're doing it during the Fraser River freshet when the water is really, really high. But we all know that when the river comes up, it also goes down, and the issue being that it's trapping fish in the pit itself. And when summer turns on, it gets really hot, we lose oxygen, there's no cover, you can see right there. This is what it looks like most of the year. There's not a lot going on in terms of the biology, and it kills a lot of fish. So it is a problem. On top of it, we have invasive species, and from the vegetation to other fish, it's not great habitat. But it's also known in the heart of Fraser, and we have an opportunity to restore it. It's a hot topic right now. So biologically, the why is sound. When we take a look at the project scope, we know where Hope is, and we know where the Tom Berry gravel pit is, but really, this project might be, yes, a restoring gravel pit, but it's connected straight to the Salish Sea. So we're looking at the Fraser River, the Chinook salmon, but really it's about saving the whales. So not only could we be working on local initiatives, we're looking at regional initiatives and national initiatives. The orca is a species at risk, and so efforts in Hope, believe it or not, are going to help with recovery strategies for the whale. So we have started work. The project site, the Tom Berry itself, represents just over a quarter of a kilometer, and that kind of represents the area we are working in. So we have done work already, and you guys likely have been on site and seen some of the efforts. And essentially what we need to do is turn the tap on. So the issue is fish are being stranded in this relic gravel pit. We need the fish to move in and then get back out so that they don't become the frying pan for all the rest of the other species to enjoy eating. So we have put the intake in, which is the photo on the far right-hand corner. We do have some adaptive management pieces that I'll speak to in a moment, and we're recontouring the pit so that it functions as floodplain. We want it to mimic the Fraser River and the natural assets as much as possible. And if you know anything about the coalition, we love to plant. We typically plant about 50,000 trees in a single year. So we are going to start doing planting efforts. And we've done a lot of hydrology assessments. Anything we do has to first and foremost put people and safety and infrastructure as number one, and then build out from there. Obviously, still starting with the salmon. We are going back, we have 2 more years left of this project. And in that time, we still have to build what we call the outlet. The water can come in. Now we need to get the water out safely and in a sustained manner. We had one amazing storm in November. We were hoping to have a community planting and really get to know the folks out here. Oh, we weren't so lucky. So we do need to go and make some minor adjustments. Who knew Silver Hope was so strong? We do plan on doing more plantings, and now we want to start focusing more on the social, First Nation, and some of the recreation values that I think encompass the site a little bit. And I'm going to explore that. What we've noticed is Tom Berry is already used by the public. It's a highways-owned parcel, but there are significant cultural artifacts in there. In order to do any of the work, we had to have Stolo First Nation peoples and archaeologists as part of our team to do anything. And we have this amazing trail network intact, ready to go. People love it. They're asking us, what are you doing? What do you mean you're doing this? People love it. This is already an asset here in Hope, and it's already being used. So this is going to be my first ask to the district. I'm hoping by the end of this presentation, you want to partner with us. You want to help us move the social and recreational values forward at this site, and hopefully protect it for not only conservation, but those same social values that I believe you guys want. So I'm going to talk about that. Under the District of Hope, Hope's vision, I believe the coalition shares the same visions as the District of Hope. You say in 2040, Hope will be a progressive mountain community offering a high quality of life, connecting people to nature, each other, and themselves. Within its natural amenities and scenic beauty, Hope will be a vibrant, healthy, and active community based on socially and environmentally responsible economic development. This map image is taken from your integrated official community plan. District of Hope has already indicated that this particular site, which we're calling Tomberry, for green space and park space. You've already found that this is a gem. So I don't think I need to convince you, but in case I do, here it is. But let's look at Hope. We know that Hope has already grown 3.9% from 2011 to 2016, and by 2041 you're anticipating 7,000 people residing in here. So you are seeing this growth. So parks and rec opportunities is important. We also know that within the region, the opportunities to enhance Tomberry also align with the regional growth strategy. And we, not only the Watersheds Coalition, but I believe the District of Hope, also share the values of ecosystem health, climate change, community building, living well, and collaboration. This is how we operate, this is what we believe in. And we know that the population within the FBRD between 2011 to 2041 is anticipated to grow 60%, and of that, 88% is the expected growth rate of the District of Hope. Further, we can look at the graph here, and what we're seeing is, regardless of how many people end up moving here or living here, we know that projected park visits and park values are far more important. They're growing faster than the population growth. This is taken out of the regional snapshots from the FBRD. We know people want outdoor recreation opportunities. What's neat about the Tomberry project is that 67% of the preferred land use types, which is the center graph right here, are represented at Tomberry. Having a viewscape, being close to water, looking up and seeing a mountain, being able to throw your fishing rod out. This is Tomberry. You have a gem. Am I convincing you yet? And you probably know this too, but you guys have an amazing recreation, arts, and culture hub. There's an initiative called Experience the Fraser. It's connecting Hope to the Salish Sea. Kind of repeats itself because we talked about Chinook, the salmon, making their way out to the orcas in the Salish Sea. And here we've got a trail system in a long-term visioning plan that's adopted by the Fraser Valley Regional District and Metro Vancouver. And if we look at the red circle with a bunch of green arrows on the right-hand side of this map, you see a lot of orange circles and blue circles. Hope is a mecca for outdoor recreation opportunity. You have it here. You've got the connection to Manning. You've got the opportunity to connect a lot of trails. And this might, Tomberry be one of those opportunities to develop your recreation and link it to these already existing, already endorsed opportunities. So, I hope that you got a brief glimpse into who the Watersheds Coalition is, and I'm going to put that ask again. I hope that you see Tomberry as a legacy project, and I hope that the District of Hope would like to partner with our organization Advantage, Hope, there's the highways and infrastructure, DFO. I think we can make something pretty spectacular here. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the partners who have helped us out so far and have invited us here. Really appreciate it. And I think you guys have these, but I actually did reference all of this. This is not me playing with numbers, even though it sounded really fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. The next delegation is from the Hope Mountain Center, and Mr. Kelly Pearce is here. I saw him earlier. Kelly and Stephanie. Good.
Who's that?
Who's that handsome man on the bench?
Oh, that's a model.
So, yeah, Stephanie and I are going to tag team present this presentation on behalf of Hope Mountain Center and Advantage Hope. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we delve in?
It's all yours.
Okay.
Excuse me, it's all yours.
So, folks, we just want to give you an update on what we've achieved in the last 2 years with rural dividend funding, working to improve the trails around Hope and building some new trails as well, and give you a bit of a vision that we have for the future as well.
Just as I'm sure you're all aware, Rural Dividend is a big project with a lot of partners and stakeholders, and it had a lot of deliverables. But at the 30,000 foot level, the partners were the District of Hope, Advantage Hope, Hope Mountain Center, and the Fraser Valley Regional District. And then we had lots of other contributors and stakeholders on a lot of the projects within Rural Dividend, but those are the funding partners. So as one of the big reasons we want to come back and report out on what we did, because you were our partner. And a lot of the work that came with Rural Dividend, they had a category especially for rural community development, which was destination trails planning and development. And that's because trails and those natural assets are recognized as being incredibly important to rural communities in the way that they're maybe not as integral to the economies of larger centers. And so it was very nice of Natasha to warm up the audience by calling it a recreation mecca, because that's what Hope is. But, you know, when we compare ourselves to all of our neighbors, our economic position in the market for business investment, new residents, and economic activity such as tourism is that we have this mecca of outdoor recreation. So outdoor recreation is a travel motivator. It's why people come here. It also is a major reason why people choose to live here. It's a way to, the reason we want to invest in trails is for visitor and resident attraction, but it's also to retain our existing residents by providing a really top-notch quality of life with access to nature and good health and physical outcomes. And so when a small town invests in, you know, when you think about what are we going to invest in, rural communities, it's really recognized that our natural assets are something that we really need to put a lot of effort into, because it's our biggest, it's our biggest asset overall. So with that in mind, we had these partners come together with funding, and we decided the best way to utilize the Rural Dividend grants in our application was to test drive 2 years of a paid trail crew. And so we have the Hope Mountain Center with their volunteers have been working on trails in this region for a long time with a fantastic reputation. And so we thought, what would happen if you didn't have to scramble for your money every year and you could actually put all your effort into actual trail work instead? And so that is what a lot of the efforts were put in. So we had 2 years of paid trail crew, as well as some funding put into trails master planning and trails destination trail promotion.
So I want to just take you through a few highlights of the trail work done over the last 2 years. I drew up a list of the, sort of what I'd call the top 14 trails of our area. So some of them are right within town boundaries, are very familiar to. Others sort of straddle town boundaries and the crown land adjacent. And then some are a little bit further out of town. But pretty much everything in this list is roughly within a 40-minute drive of Hope, if it isn't within the town itself. And so, yeah, it's everything from the local to the regionally important, but they're all important to the quality of life in Hope, because these trails get hiked by local people, skied on by local people, snowshoed on by local people, but they also draw people from the region, and in fact from around the world. So it's very much part of the tourism asset, but also the quality of life asset that we're trying to promote and improve in the town. So just a few highlights. I'm not going to take you through all 14 trails, but Hope Lookout is certainly one of our busy trails. You see cars parked there almost every day of the week, sometimes up to a dozen on sunny weekends. So here's our trail crew in 2017, rebuilding a staircase. They later made a beautiful bench area right at this location on the trail, and then more recently we built another 20+ new stair steps on that trail. There's over 200 cedar staircase pieces on that trail now, so it's very much a stairmaster, this thing. And there's people I know locally who hike it more than once a week, just literally as a stairmaster with a view. So Steph's going to advance for us. And so lots of work done on this trail. We hike up, most things, we typically don't have a helicopter budget, so most things you see on our back trails came up on someone's back. And so here's Seth Prodzic, one of our young guys who worked with us this past summer, working with Angus and Wes, and we all took turns that day packing this new interpretive sign on our backs to the lookout. Next slide. And there's that new interpretive sign showing Hope in 1949, and you can compare it to the way it looks today from that beautiful bird's eye view you get at the Hope Lookout. And you can see all three of the railways, including the KVR, running through town when that photo was taken in 49. Next slide. And we also installed a backcountry toilet. For those of you who don't know that yet, we're going to install signs soon that direct you to the toilet. The next time you're out with the Hope Lookout, be aware that there's a fabulous throne waiting for you. Now we're going to take you on another trail, but to the very top of the same mountain. So this is the summit of Mount Hope. Beautiful photo taken by Justin Brown. And that's the little town of Whoville down at the bottom there. You can hear the children singing Abu Dori in the beautiful color. But an absolutely spectacular trail you can enjoy. Of course, you can ride up on Valley helicopters. They'll drop you up there for the day if you just want a day trip without all the hard work. But there's also a spectacular trail that takes you to that summit. Next slide. We had cedar benches flown in there with a helicopter, and for the first time in our history, we actually paid a helicopter company to do something for us. So it was a thrill to actually hand a check to Valley Helicopters for the privilege of flying cedar benches up. Next slide. We also put in a fabulous throne at the summit of that mountain too. There's two beautiful little mountain tarns at the very top of that mountain, and it's an important water supply if you're spending the night up there. So it's not good to have people just randomly running around the mountaintop, peeing and doing other things at random. It's really something you want to direct. And so this new throne will do that, and it gives a fabulous view of Mount Baker as well. And our trail crew worked really hard over the last couple of years improving the trail itself. So we've got mechanical brush saws and hand loppers and chainsaws and all sorts of things that we use. Next slide. And that's a before and after shot, and it really shows you why you need to maintain trails. This trail in particular runs through old logged areas, so it gets a lot of sunlight. There's a lot of alder in there growing like a banshee. You can actually hear it growing in behind you as you cut through it. And so really every couple of years you've got to go in there with a brush saw or volunteers and loppers, but preferably paid trail crew with brush saws who can really work day in, day out, opening that trail up. Next slide. Oh, and this is one that we really enjoyed doing this summer. This is the new Coquihalla River Dike Trail that some of you might have already enjoyed. And it runs along the river edge, giving beautiful views of the Coke beside the retirement community and the Hope Canyon Hospital. So next slide. And so it's quite a nice wide, 2-meter wide trail that saunters along the river's edge there. Next slide. And connects eventually to the Coquihalla campground. And there it is running through the campground now on that dike, and we're using a power wheelbarrow there. So it was quite a capital-intensive project. We were moving a lot of rocks and material and hiring local contractors like Jim Lasser's company to move that material around. And then our trail crews handily spread it all out. And this is another beautiful new section that we added later in the summer. And it's really what we see as part of the same trail network. It runs along the edge of the Coquihalla. This particular one connects Olson Avenue to the golf course bridge connector there, and then on to the Rotary Trail. So that's a real asset. And we made lots of amenities along this route too. So there's beautiful cedar kiosks that are going to be receiving informational signage in the next couple of months.
And I'm just going to bump in here real quick because I just want to bring up the economic impact of trails as we go along. And so Council has approved affordable housing projects out on Old Hope Princeton Way and housing developments out there. And so these waterfront trails on the Coquihalla now provide a nature path into town versus taking Old Hope Princeton Way or 6th or 7th, where there's maybe, you know, more traffic and things like that. So these trails were meant to be flat, and they're compacted, and the type of gravel is, like I said, capital intensive, so that they're scooter capable. And so we had some fantastic interactions with the Riverside Manor seniors residents and the Fraser Health staff and the Fraser Hope Lodge staff about, you know, how can, they've lived near that waterfront for, you know, ages, and most of the residents couldn't access the river because it was too sketchy. And so now we've got all these beautiful, it's wonderful. So Kelly has created an amazing job. So that's, again, speaking to the economic impact. So we have 140 new housing units. So that's a lot of new families who need new ways to access our community and our schools, and also accessible for the seniors.
And this connects to the bike park too, so it's another rideable trail that, you know, goes to and comes from the bike park, which is nice too. Adds to the flow in the town. Here's some more of those beautiful cedar benches. They're made out of recycled cedar timbers that were found down at the mouth of the Coquihalla this spring, by the way, so it's a nice repurposing of that wood. And now they're available to the retirees that are near there and anybody walking and enjoying the trail. And they're chained into place so that they can't go walking.
The seniors with scooters really like to take benches.
Oh, exactly.
You gotta keep your eye on them.
And then here's our team leader, Wes. He was the head of our trail crew this year, and posing beside a couple of, or one of the several bear-proof garbage cans that we installed along the route, as well as doggy bag dispensers that are along the route.
And this was so that, this was with an eye to any new infrastructure you add, you have to make it easy to maintain. So we purchased and installed bear-proof garbage cans at easily accessible points for garbage collection, and those doggy bag dispensers so that people would respect the community a little bit as they're enjoying the trails.
And one last asset I want to end on is just another example of a different kind of trail, but a great example of a regionally significant trail. This is the Automite Trail on Coquihalla Summit, really popular in the snowshoeing backcountry skiing community, but also hikers use this trail in the summer to get up to Automite Mountain, but also Zupjock and Zalkius Ridge and some of the other features that are to be enjoyed up at the Coke Summit. So, you know, it's just a 40-minute drive from town, so it's the kind of thing, again, that local people would use and enjoy, but then regional visitors would also enjoy, and it's very much connected to Hope's character. So the old bridge had collapsed. We needed to hire a company to remove it, the old rotten wooden one, and then we replaced it with new steel spans. And again, we teamed up with Jim Laster's company, Tri-West. They did a wonderful job. So we've got this sturdy new 35-foot long span, and in the next slide you'll see it with a heavy-duty Coquihalla Summit snow load on it. That's early season. It's going to get about 3 times deeper than that over the course of the winter. But super important, and you know, the old bridge had collapsed, and so every time there was a warm spell, that creek would run over the bridge, and then you'd have this big water body that people couldn't get past. So, you know, really strategically important bridging on an important trail that, thanks to the rural dividend money, we were able to build in style, and that bridge is going to be there for the remainder of anyone else's lifetime in this room. Thrilled to install a bridge that we don't have to repair in 5 years.
And we were extra thrilled for this one from the Hope Cascades and Canyons tourism perspective, because as Suzanne was mentioning in our previous meeting, that shoulder season is really important. So how do we bring economic impact during the spring, fall, and winter season? And the Coquihalla Summit recreation area and up the canyon, these are the places where people are coming to recreate in the winter. So backcountry ski touring and snowshoeing is becoming wildly popular, and this bridge leads to Automite, which is, if you're a beginner or if you're taking out your kids or your family or your parents, this is the most safe in terms of avalanche hazard. And so with this trail not accessible with that bridge washout, that was really diverting a whole bunch of guests to our region. And so by installing this one strategic bridge, you can see the parking lot up there is overflowing every day in the wintertime, and those people are gassing up, eating, staying overnight, and hope to access those winter recreation points at a time when our tourism industry needs the influx, right? So these destination trails, we are trying to be really strategic with our efforts, and so although these are outside the District of Hope, they're a travel motivator, like I was saying before. And again, shoulder season, we're trying to focus and expand our winter attraction with these outdoor assets.
And another thing we've been using the rural dividend money for in the last couple of years is producing really high quality print publications to promote our trails. And the HBC in particular really needs special promotion. So on the left, we've got a brand new topographical map that's been custom designed by one of the best cartographers in the province, Jeff Clark. And it's going to be printed on waterproof paper because it rains here. And on the riverside, it's got everything you need, basically road directions, water sources on the trail, everything you would need to plan a one-day or a multi-day trip on the HBC. So that's the document on the left. We're also printing the document on the right, which is sort of a knapsack-friendly human history book, a very cute little mini booklet that's going to tell the human stories, First Nations, the fur traders, and all the people that followed, including the restoration story, Harley Hatfield, and all the gang from the 1960s that rediscovered the trail. It's going to be a wonderful book, and both documents have been designed by local people, printed in the region, and it's really going to help to take this trail to the next level.
And I want to toot Kelly's horn here a little bit, because when we talk about destination trails, this is what we're talking about. This trail took 10 years of vision and leadership and incredible volunteer and paid work to reopen. It's 74 kilometers. It's the exact same length as the West Coast Trail, but the backcountry camps are in much better condition, and it's not overcrowded with users yet. So this is our West Coast Trail, and 10 years ago we didn't have it. And through the efforts of these amazing groups, we now have something that we can share with the world. But just like Suzanne was saying before, all these volunteers have been working so hard for a decade, but where's the marketing? How do we get the word out? And so I'm just so thrilled that through the World Dividend Fund, we're able to create these promotional marketing materials. So World Dividend wants your initiatives to be self-sustaining, so this is a huge asset to bring people here. You're going to throw both those documents in your backpack and go exploring. It's going to raise the profile of the trail. They're going to be for sale. So World Dividend paid for the initial development. Now they're going to be for sale, and the funds from that are going to go for updating and reprinting future editions. So this is a really great example of supporting a volunteer organization to achieve a goal that then is self-sustaining moving forward. So, and it's going to really bring a lot of people to our destination trail network.
And here's just a summary of the dollars that were spent in our town over the last 2 years thanks to Rural Dividend. And maybe you could zap with the laser pointer.
Do we have a laser?
It is. You have to slide the little top part to the different setting.
Jessica, you might need to help me out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
don't look into it.
I just want to show you guys like
Blind
the
myself.
dollars that were invested by Rural Dividend. Hang on, I've got a 1990s pointer here. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, we got it. How do I
So-
press? Just hold down the middle.
It's
Yeah,
going
just
too
hold down the middle
far-
button.
it's going too far forward, we should go
I
back.
got it. Sorry.
Go back there.
Where did I
There we
go?
go.
Here we go.
That's what
Got
we've
it.
done for the last 2 years, and I just wanted you to see there's rural dividend money in the last 2 years, significant amounts of money coming into the community thanks to the rural dividend, and then additional values. Sorry, there's the rural dividend total there. Yeah, sorry, I missed that one. So over $100,000 spent each year on trails, and you can see 2018 was a much bigger year, a lot more capital investments went in this year. But look at the values too that Hope Mountain Center has been bringing to the equation. A lot of volunteer hours there, tools and cash, but also promotional values in the form of the Trails of Hope brochure that we publish every year, a special video that was done on the HBC Trail that's going to be premiering this spring at the Vancouver International Mountain Film Festival, shown at the Hope Cinema in digital picture and sound, and other trail events that we run. So we do guided trips on these trails, and so those become de facto trail promotion events because we're drawing people in from all over the Lower Mainland who come on our programs, they walk on our trails, they come snowshoeing and skiing with us, and they learn to love this place that we all live in. So that's kind of one of those hidden things that we're doing. We wanted to put a dollar value on it, and so we did. Added up the cost of all those things, and it ends up being a big chunk of change.
So this was our test driving of a fully paid trail program of trail maintenance, trail building, and trail promotion. This does not include the destination trail planning we've been doing, like hiring engineers to plan for Experience with Fraser and stuff like that. So this is just money that went to trail maintenance, building, and promotion. The last 2 years of Rural Dividend money, so you get a sense there. 2017 was our first year, about $150,000 in total value. Year 2, we really ramped it up, and we did about $195,000. And this was all mostly grant dollars and leveraged dollars. So that's a huge injection into our community. And the test drive went really well. I'm mostly here tonight just to tell you how thrilled I am at what a great partner Hope Mountain Center was. I could not have asked for more fiscally responsible partners who leveraged so much volunteer effort. It just makes your head spin, the volunteers that come out to work with this group.
So that sort of gives you an idea of what we've been up to for the last couple of years. And you know, I think these trails, as we said, have tremendous value to our community and are worth investing in. But the question becomes, you know, what do we do moving forward? Rural dividend is winding down. We have to spend all this money by March 31st. And of course, we can reapply again once they finish, you know, reading our reports and all that stuff. But as the years go forward, we need to look for multiple funders to really strengthen our commitment to trails, to maintain the ones we've got, but also to build fantastic new trails. So the question moving forward is, where can we find this funding? And we're really coming to council tonight to also make a request, or to at least plant the seed that we would like you to consider investing something in the neighborhood of $29,000 a year for a 3-year period from 2019 to 21. But basically, we're asking you to consider the possibility of investing $29,000 a year in trail maintenance and new trail construction over that period. At the very least, trail maintenance, and that's sort of what we came up with this budget envisioning, was at the very least, if we had nothing else from year to year, over the next 3 years from the District of Hope, could we still field a trail crew? Could we still keep all of our trails maintained and open? And the answer is yes, we could, and that's what it would cost. But of course, we're not just going to stop there. We're going to go after additional funders. We want to build new trails. We want to have a bigger crew. This is based on a very minimal 2-person crew. But we want to have that capacity to take some of your money and use it to leverage from other funders and really boost what we can do every year. And of course, we'll always be bringing in-kind values to every year that Hope Mountain Center runs this program as well. Next slide. So the District of Hope's contribution will be used to leverage from other organizations. So National Trails Coalition, we've been successful in past years of getting matching funds from them. Student wage subsidy programs, we manage to tap into that almost every year. Cascade Lower Canyon Community Forest is a tremendous partner. We've been in regular conversation with their Chief Forester, Matt Wheeler, and they're very interested in recreational trail development on their community forest lands. And there's some wonderful project opportunities on their land base. So again, some more funding that we could tap into. But also there's things percolating with FBRD Parks up at Thacker Mountain. BC Parks continues to be a partner every year that helps to fund things like that Automite Bridge that we showed you earlier. And the Ministry of Transport, that wonderful project at the Tom Berry Pond gravel pit there, is another potential funder down the road that we can partner with. So that's sort of the summary of what we're asking you here tonight. $29,000 a year, 3-year pilot project, minimum of at least 2 and possibly a larger trail crew depending on funding from year to year. Most of the work would happen in July and August. Focus on priority trails, both local and in the region. Focus on maintenance, if that's all we can afford to do. At the very least, we'd be maintaining all of our trails from year to year. And yeah, continue to add additional funding where available. And next slide. Benefits to the district. Basically, we see this crew as working under the supervision of the Public Works Department, or at least working under the authority of the Public Works Department, but without the need for Public Works to constantly supervise. Hope Mountain Center would really take on the majority of that, and that would relieve district staff from having to, you know, watch and monitor this crew from day to day. Reduces the burden on staff, but still allows the District of Hope to really have a say in trail priorities moving forward. Yes,
Oh yeah, so I just wanted to speak to, you know, why do we invest in trails? And again, Natasha really summed up some of the amazing reasons why I would invest in trails in her presentation. How wonderful! But yeah, it's that the return on your investment from an economic impact perspective is pretty starkly obvious from the data. And so although we don't have data for Hope, we know that communities like ours, as they were developing when they went from 0 to actually investing in a concerted effort towards outdoor recreation, Squamish did an economic impact study of what just their mountain biking brings to their community. And so they invested, I think, $30,000 to $65,000 to $75,000 in just mountain bike trails to the Squamish Outdoor Recreation Club. And then they did a big study to see what is that return on investment. And for them, it brought $8 million to their community in terms of overnight hotel stays and the spin-off, the economic spin-off. And so we feel like trails like the HBC trail, given that it's our equivalent to the West Coast Trail is gonna have those types of impacts. We wanna see mountain bike trail development, we wanna see, when you invite people to come visit your community, it's those experiences that make it. And so if we make a promise when they get here, those trails need to be maintained and in ship shape, right? Rossland is another example of a community. They invested into their Seven Summits Trail network, and it's totally revitalized their community in terms of resident attraction as well as tourism income. And so there's been a visitor study showing that the types of visitors that you get to outdoor recreation are generally highly educated, high household income. They're the kind of demographic you want to attract to your community. And when people start coming out to recreate your community every single weekend, at some point they got to start asking themselves, why don't we just move here? and then we can do this all the time without having to fight traffic, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. And then, as Kelly said, that, you know, moving on from rural dividend, how do we make this self-sustaining going forward? Hope Mountain Center is hoping to keep running a trail program at this level that we've done the past 2 years. And they're asking for different stakeholders to contribute a portion to keep that going. So even if there's no rural dividend grant in the future, how can we keep this level going? And so your amount, your $29,000 a year for 3 years as a pilot project to see how it goes. What's really fantastic is that right now the Fraser Valley Regional District has just started to conduct a study of the economic impact of recreation in our area. So that will be ready in about 1.5 years, which means that halfway through this pilot project, you're going to get real data and real numbers about what the return on investment is. So that halfway through, you know, usually you have to wait to the end of a pilot project before you start getting numbers and data. So what's really great about the timing on this is that halfway through, you're going to get this data on economic impact of recreation. And that'll be kind of your halfway mark check. Every year you're going to find out from your public works department if this was an easy thing to manage or if it created a headache, right? and you're going to get feedback from your residents and your tourists about the quality of maintenance going forward. So I think it's a good timing.
And that's a big thank you for you guys listening to our spiel. I guess the last idea I want to end on, because I can hear a voice in the back of my head going, hey, we've always managed to run our trails and Hope with a volunteer team. Why are we asking for money now? Truth be told, Hope's trails have been built in sort of a hodgepodge of occasional paid crews. So like the view in this scene right here is from the Hope Lookout. That was built in the mid-1990s by a local group led by Arlene Webster and some other teachers at the high school. And they tapped into a federal fund, I understand, that hired a trail crew that actually built that trail we're still using and maintaining today. So sometimes, you can really make tremendous improvements to your community by having paid people. If you just rely on volunteers, you're at risk of really burning them out. It's amazing what we're able to do with them. But it's wonderful to have a paid trail crew that gets up every morning and their only job is to head onto the hills around Hope and make those trails better. You can't do that with weekend warriors sporadically helping out where they can. They make a tremendous contribution. I love what the volunteers have done for us. But relying on them solely, I just don't think it's just not going to get us there. So hence the request, hence the need for a multi-year paid trail crew.
And I would make just 2 quick points. When people come to the district and say, like the Watershed Coalition say, we have this amazing gem of a project and we think it has so many benefits for you. We'd love to partner formally. This is a great way for you to contribute to an overall program. And then direct your assets. So you've funded a portion of a trail crew, and you say, so then in the spring, when the trail crew coordinator sits down with Kevin Dicker from Public Works and goes through the annual work plan, right? Kevin can say, Mayor and Council would really like to see you put some effort into the Tomberry Pit project. We'd like your labor to go there because we really support what they're doing, and so that's going to make the list this year. And so that's a really wonderful way for the district to support initiatives like the one that the Fraser Valley Watershed Coalition is working on. And then every spring, Kevin and Kelly sit down and this is a list of trails we're going to maintain inside the district boundaries. Here's the list of destination trails that we're going to maintain, even though they're outside the district boundaries. We know they are a magnet, they're an economic impact on our community and our businesses here. So we're gonna put those ones on the list too. And then they go off and running, and at the end of the summer they report back to Kevin on that progress. So yeah.
Eric, thank you very much for your presentation. And thank you to Hope Mountain Center. Thank you to Hope Mountain Center and all your year volunteers. Congratulations on your successful 2 years with your Rural Dividend Fund. And I look forward to working with you in the future. On to staff reports. Mr. Fordolowski, please.
Your Worship, yes, back to boring as it were. Although not really boring. Advantage Hope Board new nominees. As vacancies appear on the board of Advantage Hope, the board recommends new nominees. And as you know, the members appoint them annually at the AGM, and they go through and vet them. There were some vacancies, and the board advertised for volunteers. They did get responses, they vetted the responses, and they have moved forward and promote 2 individuals, Mr. Rodney Peters and Mr. Mark Glentworth, to the Advantage Hope Board. You have the applications or the paperwork they filled out. And just so you and the public are reminded, the board vets them rather scientifically. They have criteria laid out for what types of expertise they want on the board, so they're well-rounded, and it harmonizes with the strategic economic plan and the OCP for the community. So there are 20 categories, ranging from community leadership through local history, entrepreneurship, etc., that the individuals that apply to the board are judged against. So having done that exercise, the board then would ask that council endorse Mr. Rodney Peters and Mark Glentworth be appointed to the Advantage Hope Board, and I point out that the co-chairs of Advantage Hope are here to answer any questions you may have with regards to those nominees.
Thank you, Mr. Fordolowski. I'll entertain a motion at this time that council endorse the appointments of Rod Peters and Mark Glentworth to the Advantage Hope Board of Directors. Move. Councillor Smith. I'll second it. Yep. Second. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Medlock. Excuse me. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you and welcome to the board. Back to you, Mr. Fordolowski, please. Ordinance and bylaws.
Your Worship, Council, or Mr. Mayor, Council, the first item of business, the Business License Amendment Bylaw, number 448, 2019, Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw, 1449, 2019, 2 resolutions. Resolution 1, that the Business License Amendment Bylaw number 1448, 2019 be adopted this 11th day of February 2019, and resolution number 2, that the Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw 1449, 2019 be adopted this 11th day of February 2019. You've read these particular issues 3 times already, and as a quick reminder, they relate directly to rates for farmers market vending and the seasonal market, for example, Hope Mountain Market or Mountain Park, as well as the new trial indoor-outdoor market that will be occurring at the strip mall, kitty corner to our location. The second one relates to, unfortunately, the disposal of dogs after euthanization. We've gotten greater fidelity on the cost of doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Fordolowski. So motion, council, please, that Business License Amendment Bylaw number 1448, 2019 be adopted this 11th day of February 2019. Moved by Councillor Stewin, second by Councillor Coun. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Second resolution, a motion that Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 1449, 2019 be adopted this 11th day of February 2019. Move adoption by, by Councillor Medlock and second by Councillor Smith. Excuse me. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Back to you, Mr. Fordolowski, please.
Second item is a ratification of a council poll reference the issuance of a flood and erosion hazard development permit at 63170 Flood Hope Road for Encore Holdings. This is the precast concrete plant development, And in order to assist in timely construction on the site, considering weather and other conditions, we asked you via poll and email, via telephone and email about this issue. Council indicated that they approved, so therefore we need to bring this forward for transparency and to report out to the public. So this is a ratification of your approval of this issuance of the flood and erosion hazard development permit.
So at this time, I do need a motion for this again.
I'll read the motion then. That council ratify the email poll of January 31st, 2019. That a flood and erosion development permit be issued for the property legally described as Lot B, Section 6, Township, well, cold too. Section 6, Township 5, Range 26, West 6 Meridian, and District Lot 53, YDYD Plan KAP 81163, PID 026-771-292, address 6310 or 63170 Flood Hope Road. To enable the owner to proceed with the construction of a concrete manufacturing facility, and further that, upon receipt of an acceptable certified report from a qualified professional confirming the safe development of the manufacturing facility, authorize the Director of Community Development to endorse the development permit and covenant documents. And further that, for purposes of the development permit validity period, the conditions of the development permit shall expire on January 28th, 2021. And further that, for the purposes of Section 504 of the Local Government Act, substantial start shall mean the placement of a foundation for the structure.
Thank you for doing my job for me there. Appreciate that.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Councillor Stewin moves, and second by Councillor Drawn. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The second report there, please.
This report relates to a geotechnical hazard development permit at 21692 and 21732 Union Bar Road, Emil Anderson Construction Limited. In this case, the area identified is identified in the OCP as subject properties falling within a high geotechnical hazard development permit area. Therefore, a qualified professional must certify safe building sites for the proposed development in order for approval. And then this report is registered as part of the development process, and any recommendations resulting from the report must be fulfilled. And clearly this is a risk mitigation, but it is a normal part of how we do business in our planning and development process. I will read the motion for you, Mr. Mayor, as you will. Sword. So, that a District of Hope geotechnical hazards development permit be prepared for the properties legally described as Lot 2, Section 14, Township 5, Range 26, West 6 Meridian, YDYD Plan 1551, except plans 13980 and 17642, PID 011-546-387, address 21692 Union Bar Road, and Lot B, Section 14, Township 5, Range 26, YDYD, Plan KAP 55077, PID 023-119-543, address 21732 Union Bar Road. And further that, upon the District of Hope receiving an acceptable certified report from a qualified professional confirming the site-specific safe building envelopes for the properties at 21692 and 21732 Union Bar Road, authorize the Director of Community Development to endorse the geotechnical hazards development permit and the required covenant document. And further, that for purposes of the geotechnical hazard development permit validity period, the conditions of the development permit shall expire on February 11th, 2021. And further that, for purposes of Section 504 of the Local Government Act, substantial start, any construction shall mean the completion and registration of the approved subdivision.
All right. You're ready to move that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Stewin, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Fordolowski. Now we'll go back to mayor and council reports. Start with Councilor Tron tonight, please.
Thank you. I'll try and keep it short. Obviously, it's been a while since we've been in here, but we as a group, attended the LGLA in Richmond, and had a great time getting to know everyone in council better, while at the same time absorbed a ton of useful information from all the seminar speakers. That information will greatly help me as a new councilor moving forward. And as well, on January 29th and 30th, in the chambers, we had our strategic planning session. I was very impressed with the process as a whole, and I'm very happy with the direction you're headed, and looking forward to tackling each one of the strategic issues with the district's best interests in mind.
Thank you, Councilor Tron. Councilor Stewin.
Thank you. I also attended LGLA. My favorite takeaway from the LGLA was the asset management session, where they reminded everyone that the best math lesson in life is to calculate future costs of today's decisions. And I thought that really impacted me in more ways than one, not just here, but in my everyday life as well. So I'll take that away. Also, I participated in the strategic planning session. I too am very happy with the direction that we're going. I attended the ratepayers meeting on past Thursday night. Councillor Epson's out of town. And I just will announce that LEGO EXPO #3 will take place on March 16th at the Silver Creek School. And if you're not familiar with this event, it's a great day out, first day after spring break starts for the kids. And it's a fundraiser where the proceeds go, this time will go 50% to the Silver Creek School and 50% to the Park Street Manor to help out with some costs that they have. So hopefully you can mark that in your calendars and want to attend. I also attended my first, I'm going to read it out loud because I don't what was it? Okay, it'll take too long for me to find it, but it's a community advisory committee with mental health, and it was excellent. At this table are real people who deal with real issues as far as getting services from mental health. So it was their concerns. There was a gentleman from Fraser Health and a young lady who came, and they were there with the answers to the questions, which is really awesome. We had some great discussion. It's just, I think I'm going to really like that committee. So I'm happy to announce that there are great things going to be happening in our mental health facilities and in our community regarding that issue. So. And that's everything. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Stewin. Councilor Smith.
Hi. Had a chance to tour the Fish Tomberry Road project with Natasha, and it was very interesting. Of course, I love the area. I'm kind of prejudiced, but I mean, it was very cool. Down we went to, and I've also talked to the Rod and Gun Club, and they're having a meeting tomorrow to possibly be a partner in the project too. And also, when Natasha and I were at the there's a gorgeous place that need a bench, and so I've asked them if they would supply the bench so you can sit down and get the wow factor from our town. The library happening for the Fraser Valley Regional Library. 2017 they had 3,558 people in the library in Hope. In 2018 we have 3,894. We have an increase of 336 people. So this year we're going to be over 4,000, because everybody I see, I ask if they have a library card. As at the dog park, there's 2 people today who did not have a library card, they just moved here. So Councillor Tron and I and myself looking forward to a 2-day library retreat. We've got a lot of new projects coming on board, so we both of us do have library cards. Community Futures, we held our planning session here in Hope the other day with Councillor Medlock and myself. And we've always had it at Ashcroft, so this is the first time we had it out, so Hope, we were kind of stoked that we got to be the host. So if you looked around town, we had little welcoming signs from District of Hope, Chamber of Commerce, Advantage Hope, and the Communities in Bloom. And in the room they had one of the welcoming things with a little flower beside it for them to know that we're all friendly here. And also a planning session last week was got a lot out of it. For everything we're doing right now is amazing, it is. And look forward to great things in the council. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Smith. Councillor Medlock.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it has been a while since we had a meeting, so the LGLA was the first thing out of Richmond that we all attended, and that was very good information for new and returning councillors, as always. As Councillor Smith reported, the Community Futures AGM was held, or not AGM, sorry, Strategic Planning was held here in Hope. Then the strategic planning session for council. So I had, unfortunately, could only make it to one of the 2 days, but I was updated by several councillors and the mayor as to how the second day went. And I'm glad that the theme, I guess, was "Are we aligned?" And it sounds like we're aligned. So I think that's good for productivity and getting things done, is to be aligned. The mayor, myself, John is gone, and Fire Chief Tom DeSource, we all got an opportunity to go do a tour down at Canna Farms. And you know, for as long as they've been there, you drive by, you see their building on the side of the highway, this big concrete structure, but it's really quite an operation inside there. I was very impressed by the facility, by the layout, what they've done with the small space that they have, and you know, their ability to produce in there. They're doubling in size in the next few months, right? And it's really good. They're a large employer. They have 55 people working there. They're good paying jobs. They offer benefits for their employees. They pay 100% of their benefits. So I'm happy to have them here. I'm glad that they're expanding and continuing to do business in Hope. I didn't smell too good the rest of the day, but it was fun when I got back to work. And then the next day, I think it was, I got to meet with Shannon Jones, co-chair of Advantage Hope, and myself met with Alison Colthorpe from Tourism Chilliwack and Brian Coombs from SEPCO. The purpose of that meeting was to sort of discuss different models of economic development and tourism delivery. With where Advantage Hope is in their current 3-year contract, and with the executive director tendering his resignation, we all thought it was a good idea to do some investigation and see what other models were out there. So that was actually a really good meeting. We probably met for a couple hours and got some good feedback. So I think we'll bring that back to the board for information. And because of a lot of the information that was being there, I don't think I'll reintroduce that motion from the last meeting at this time of the $40,000 ask, because we kind of need to figure out what's going on before we move forward with that. So I'm glad it all worked out the way it did at the last meeting, and we're spending more time to make sure we do this right. So that's all I have. Oh, no, it's not all I have.
It never is.
Yeah, I know. I write little notes and I see them in the corners and stuff. But Mr. Podolsky's not here.
No, he's not. He won't be back.
Okay, then I had a question for him, but I could send him that in an email.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Medlock. I'll try not to duplicate too many of the same items, but I wanted to thank Council for their full participation at LGLA. It was good how we conquered and divided, go to different meetings. We weren't all at the same seminars, which was good, and come back and compare notes. Talking to my colleagues, we all share the same opportunities: aging and new infrastructure, affordable housing, and cannabis intervention. To do it properly, do it right the first time around. So we're not alone in struggling with those new bylaws. So you wouldn't know it tonight, but one of the things was how to run an effective council meeting. So I'm working on that. We had a legal update on cannabis, and something that was interesting to me was the province now has approved we can zone specific areas for rentals. So I thought that was a good approach to helping us with some affordable housing. And local government and Indigenous communities working together. We talked about asset management. And overall, I thought we all got a lot out of those meetings, and it was worthwhile. Just very quickly, I attended the HEART meeting. There's strong community support from all the agencies at that table. Healthy communities, again. Nothing new at this point, but there again, I'm amazed at the local agencies that provide joint health care in our community. We did our strategic planning, as it's been spoken to, and there again, I'd like to thank council and senior staff for the participation over the 2 days. It was a good exercise. The last thing on my report is bylaw 1353, which is a bylaw to establish a revitalization tax exemption program, expired September the 30th. And I think it's something that I would like council to have a look at, Advantage Hope in the chamber, and give some input to the staff, and update and change this, and hopefully bring it back forward and into an active bylaw again. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that staff bring to council March the 25th a revised revitalization tax exemption bylaw to update the bylaw 1353, which has expired. So I'm looking for move in second. Thank you. Councillor Stewin and Councillor Smith, and all those in favor? Opposed, carried. So if you could pass that on to Mr. Fortolotsky, please,
Absolutely.
Jessica. And I have, maybe would Councillor Smith be able to talk to the chamber on our
Yep.
behalf?
Yep.
And, yeah, of course, Advantage Hope. Appreciate that, so they're up to speed and we can get the latest feedback. Okay, moving on, correspondence. We have a motion to receive our correspondence that the council, sorry, let's start with the accounts payable checklisting for January we received. Okay, Councillor Smith and Councillor Tron, and do you have a question you want to bring forward in that? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Now it's the motion for information correspondence listed February the 11th be received.
Move receipt.
Sure, move receipt. Councillor Medlock, and a second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. There's no other pertinent business at this time. This time we'll entertain questions from the public for items relevant to the agenda. And there must be tonight with this big audience sitting here so quiet. Really. I'll ask again, any questions from the public from items relevant to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll move on. The next meeting is February 25th at 7 p.m. here in the district chambers. At this time, I need a motion to, that the meeting be closed to the public to consider matters pursuant to section 90. Councillor Smith, Councillor Coun, all those in favor, opposed, carried. So we, at this time, that we are going to in-camera session, so the public will have to